everybody, Josh12 back again with another video. Today I'm back with another Dragon Ball Super episode review. I'm here to review episode 86 titled Fist Cross for the First Time, Android number 17 versus Son Goku. If you've not seen the latest episode of Super, please check it out because this review may contain spoilers. But that being said, let's get into the latest episode of Dragon Ball Super. Also, as a side note, it's Easter Sunday as I'm recording this episode. The resurrection of our Lord and Savior, not to mention the day where toddlers run around catching fake eggs to eat. I personally am not a fan of Easter, like I'm not a fan of most holidays. Especially the coveted Thanksgiving. If it's not Christmas or Halloween or a personal birthday, I really don't give a fuck. But that's just me. If you celebrate and love it, kudos to you. I hope you have a great Easter. On my front, before the festivities begin, that I'm not looking forward to, I'm here to review an episode of Dragon Ball Super, so I hope you enjoy. Also, as a side note, a add-on to said side note, basically I'm still getting over a sickness, so I'm still kind of under the weather. So if I sound shitty, I guess per usual, depending on your personal aspects on my videos, well then you're going to get some more of that in this video. So let's get to it. Dragon Ball Super, episode 86. This is obviously a big episode. This is the first episode of 17 and Goku meeting for the first time. Ironically enough, 17 was a major villain in Dragon Ball Z, specifically during the Android arc leading up to the Cell arc, and obviously a major villain in future Trunks' timeline. However, Goku, being the main protagonist of the series, never technically met 17, and it was kind of one of those big what-ifs. What would happen if Goku ever met 17? What if he ever fought 17? Who would have won? We finally get answers to said questions in this episode. We do get some exceptional fighting sequences from Goku and 17, which I'll touch upon in a few minutes. However, in the beginning of this episode, we get bombarded by a lot of interesting visuals and information. First off, let's talk about that interesting red streak that happened in Dende's lookout. For those of you who don't know, while Goku is asking Dende to find the whereabouts of 17, Dende starts giving Goku various information about 17 to Goku, about how he's raising a family, how he's not a bad guy anymore, how he's a ranger, a park ranger for specific island reserves for endangered species and animals and stuff like that. And while they're discussing this, Dende does some weird Namekian divine property to the lookout that causes it to start moving towards the destination of 17's whereabouts, which I thought was an interesting touch. It kind of reminded me and got me some feels from Lost. If anybody's a huge fan of Lost like I am, you get the feeling that it kind of felt like the island when the island, spoilers, moved. It was like, holy shit, the island can fucking move location. It's fucking amazing. It kind of felt that way in Dragon Ball Super, considering that the lookout tower never technically moved. It always seemed to just float endlessly above Korn's tower. However, before the events that lead to the lookout tower moving, there's a weird, interesting red streak that comes apart and starts moving at a fast rate inside the lookout, and I thought it was kind of interesting that that was added, considering, for those who don't know what that was actually the power pole. Back in the day, for those who don't remember, Goku had in his arsenal the power pole, which was a divine magical device that he would use to kick ass, fight bad guys, and various creatures throughout Dragon Ball, leading into his training with Kami at the end of Dragon Ball. It was very synonymous with Goku's character, a lot like the Flying Nimbus. And unfortunately, through the advent of Z, Goku and various characters have become so powerful, they don't really need these kind of devices anymore. So that's why you don't really see a lot of Nimbus or the power pole anymore that you do like in the old Dragon Ball days, which I think is a huge disservice to a lot of fans, especially myself, who, even though Dragon Ball Z is like my gateway drug and I love it to death and it's my favorite anime of all time, I really have a huge love for Dragon Ball. And as the years go by and after watching a lot of Super, I find myself loving Dragon Ball more and more every single time I read the manga or every time I check out the anime. It's just such a great mythological property. I thought it was kind of interesting that they threw it back in Dragon Ball Super. We got to see Nimbus back in the Goku Krillin filler episodes, and we also got to see Power Pole, which I thought was an interesting thing because I always thought that Goku took back the power pole because, and granted it's non-canon, but Goku used the power pole during his fights in the Dead Zone movie. And not to mention, when we go back and watch Dragon Ball Z, this is all based on memory, so if you can correct me, I'll agree with it, I guess. If I remember correctly, I don't think in any portion of Z we actually see the power pole connected to Korn's Tower as it is supposed to be and as it was in Dragon Ball. Moving off of that, Dende drops some major knowledge on Goku regarding various characters that we might meet in the future. Apparently we get our second Oob reference in Dragon Ball Super. The first reference was back in the earlier portions of the Universe 6 Chopper Tournament arc. Apparently Dende reintroduces the thought of the reincarnation of Kid Buu, which is of course Oob, as we later find out in the end of Z. He is very young still, of course, and he has a massive power that needs to be attended to once he becomes of age, which I thought was kind of interesting to have Dende be the person to advocate Goku to having some kind of necessity to train this person. I don't know why that is. I feel like the ending of C has so much ambiguous themes that happen with Goku wanting to train Oob, and it's always up in the air. It's one of those things that we always wonder, like, what is the true purpose of training Oob? Was it because of some kind of divine property with Oob? Was it because Goku just really wanted a big, awesome fight like he always does? Was it truly the purpose of training him to protect the world one day? What is the true purpose of training Oob? Because now we have Dende, a person who doesn't really need to do anything or say anything to Goku about these kind of things. However, he's purposely asking Goku to, hey, when this kid becomes of age, you gotta train this fucking guy because he's really fucking powerful. Some more questions to be answered. Hopefully, and I know a lot of people are debating on this, will Super surpass the end of Z? I personally don't buy Super going past Z, but we have to wait and see. It all really depends on Toriyama if he has any more filler arcs to branch off on in this time space. Or will we pass Z? I would be surprised, but I would really appreciate it. Oob, second reference, really like that. That was really cool. Goku and training Oob and getting some kind of divine foretelling of this. I don't know why, and maybe it has a lot to do with Star Wars Celebration and all the Star Wars stuff that's been going on, that, I don't know, I just kind of got this feeling of like Luke and Kylo Ren kind of a thing. Like, why do we need to train Oob? Is it because he might become evil? I don't know, I'm getting vibes. But Goku goes to 17's location. He's in a very specific island reserve, and he's defending the island from various armed poachers. And he demolishes these armed forces pretty easily with, of course, the help of Goku. We get some really cool, nice Goku and 17 introductions. 17, we get some Kai flashbacks of 17 really explaining the purposes of why he wanted to see Goku, what his true purpose was, what his current purpose is in life. We get an interesting history of what 17's kind of been up to, why he's in this island. Apparently, there's this rare species of animal called the Minotaurus, which is, I guess, this animal that a lot of poachers are very interested in collecting, the valuable rare horns. Very much, I guess, goes along with current poachers in real life, where poachers specifically like to collect horns and tusks from elephants and rhinos. 17 explains his new lifestyle to Goku. Goku explains that he wants to get a really good fight out of 17, and that's where we get the action sequences. We get 17 and Goku going all out against each other. 17 does a really good job in this fight. I feel like a lot of people are very debatable and divisive on the fight between Goku and 17, which I guess makes a lot of sense because we haven't seen 17 in a long time, and a lot of characters are really being able to stay on par with Super Saiyan Blue, which I will admit in my last review I kind of bitched about, but I will accept 17 to an extent, because 17, and excuse my words, may look like a sissy, but he's no pushover. He can kick some fucking major ass, and we've seen him take on fucking Super Saiyans like Vegeta and future Trunks. We got to see him take on fucking Imperfect Cell. We got to see him take on a fused Piccolo and Kami, which at that point was very fucking powerful. So 17 is no pushover. He is very powerful, and with his sister can tank the entire Z Warriors. So 17 is a very powerful character, and with his capabilities of training like an average human, he can get more powerful. So I can suspend certain disbelief that he can be on par with Goku. at this current stage in his life as a Super Saiyan. Maybe not so much as a Super Saiyan Blue, but granted, Goku's not going completely all out. But yeah, 17 and Goku's fight was amazing. I loved it. I think it's probably one of the better orchestrated fights in Dragon Ball Super, and a lot of that has to do with the backdrops. I didn't mention this a lot in this review, but the animation artwork in this episode was phenomenal. Very exceptional stuff, and a lot of that has to do with the backdrops. The background pieces, the set pieces alone are probably the best set pieces and backdrops we've seen in all of Super. There are so many great things. We get to see the sunset, the atmosphere. A lot of that is missing in Super. Maybe that has a lot to do with the fact that Super is not based on some kind of pre-existing manga that Toriyama has created, because the greatness of Toriyama's backgrounds that he created is that he took things from real life. He also combined that with his own imagination to create some really amazing background set pieces. Super doesn't have the luxury of that, so they have to kind of like do things on their own, and they kind of fail sometimes. However, several episodes throughout the series have really encapsulated the greatness of having a great atmosphere. This episode does that and takes it to a whole nother level. The backgrounds are fucking phenomenal. The sunset is a wonderful backdrop for Goku and 17's fight for the first time. 17 is kicking ass, Goku's kicking ass, they're going all out. Super Saiyan Blue Kamehameha towards 17's force field, energy force field is fucking beautiful to look at. I love the action set pieces, their fight throughout the skies, throughout the clouds, even throughout the water, which I wish they could have went in depth with, but I like the fact that they decided to keep in the back foreground, almost like we're watching it from afar, which I thought was a very good, interesting touch. I will say that my only nitpick with the fight is the action fight sequences of the actual characters throughout the fight itself. I feel like certain animators have this necessity in Super to make the characters look like floppy doodles when they fight. They don't look very dynamic, and they don't look like they carry a lot of weight with their punches and fights. They just look like floppy little puppets, which I'm not a big fan of. It's something that I've been very divisive towards with a lot of the action set pieces with Super. We've seen that with Goku versus Beerus. We've seen that with Goku and Vegeta fighting Hit in the Champa arc. It's just one of those things that I wish they can have more fight sequences like that are as dynamic or even more dynamic than, I would say, like the later half of Goku versus Hit and the portions of Goku and Trunks fighting Goku Black and Zamasu. Those fights are so dynamic and they carry so much weight in the punches that it doesn't look like floppy jello. And that's just something that really bugs me. And it's not a major negative, but it is a nitpick that I have with the fight sequence between 17 and Goku, because we do get a lot of that in this episode, which bugs me, but because of everything looking so good, and it's kind of hidden mostly because everything's kind of in the background, it's not a big problem, but it's just something I did catch on. Overall, the fight does end with Goku and 17 being very satisfied with their fight. Very beautiful stuff there. At the end, Goku tries to get 17 to join in the Tournament of Power. 17 introduces some more stuff that we got to know from previous Toriyama interviews, like 17 having a family, him having several kids, being married, all these kind of cool things. And Goku kind of actually comes straight up with information, which is, if you don't join the Tournament of Power, the universe will be demolished, because 17 doesn't really want in this Tournament of Power. He wants to stay at the park, at the island, and protect it from poachers. Unfortunately, Goku has to give off information that no one other than just Gohan and Mr. Saiyan know, which is the universe is at stake. However, I guess during 17's time period, outside of the android arc being resurrected, of course, and now, I guess became an atheist of sorts, because he gives no fucking shit about the universe being erased. So he kind of just leaves into the distance for Goku just to speculate as to how he's going to continue to get him on the team. And then we get left with the episode ending with aliens of unknown origin arriving at Earth to seek the coveted horns of the Minotaurus. And that's pretty much how the episode ends. Overall, excuse my ramblings, excuse my tangents, but this episode was fucking packed a lot like the last episode that I enjoyed the hell out of. Even more than the last episode. And to be perfectly blunt and honest, outside of the Krillin episode and the Goku versus Toppo fights, this is probably my favorite episode of this arc so far. I mean, I'm just saying, I fucking love this episode. 17's reintroduction to the series was heavily hyped, and it lived up to the hype. I can honestly say, even more than the Bulla stuff, which I didn't like at all, but a lot of people did. I would say 17 had so much hype going into his reintroduction to the series that they actually delivered on it. I'm fucking not pissed at all, because I was fucking pissed with the Bulla stuff because it was so hyped from the Veggie Bowl fans of like, oh my god, Bulla coming back, and we finally saw it and it was kind of lackluster. Or at least in my perspective, very lackluster. 17, heavily hyped. Holy shit, 17's coming back. He's gonna fight Goku. Holy shit. We finally got to see it, and it was amazing. It was beautifully done. They did not cut any corners executing a wonderful episode. Every single section of this was amazing. I may have had nitpicks, but they were just nitpicks. Nothing major. I loved everything. Dende's information towards Oob. The second Oob reference. Goku flying through the skies, finding 17. 17 taking down poachers. The atmosphere and look and design of the island and its inhabitants were amazing. The background set pieces, the sunset, the fight in the sun. It was like a montage from Karate Kid. It fucking looked amazing. We got to see amazing background of the night sky as Goku and 17 have very soft, collected moments under a fire talking about family and about joining the tournament. Very, very beautiful stuff that they put into this episode. I really wish and hope that Super and Toy do more stuff like this in this episode, because it had everything you would want. Very soft moments, very developments in the story and lore of the franchise, and awesome epic action set pieces. Very epic episode. I love this episode. I'm going to give it a solid, my final verdict is a solid 10 out of 10. Fucking, I loved it. That's pretty much it. I think I've talked and rambled way too much in this episode review, so I'm going to end it here. I enjoyed the hell out of this episode. Let me know what you think about the episode. What did you think about the reintroduction of 17? What did you think about the Oob reference? Will Super surpass the end of Z? Or will there be a time skip as most people are speculating? I don't know. I would love it to happen. I just don't know if it will. And the fight itself, what did you think? I loved it. I just can't get that sunset action out of my fucking mind. It was in my head. I just see a wonderful landscape. And that's another thing I can't stress enough. The landscape was just so wonderfully done. And I loved how they decided to almost make the action a background piece to the wonderful landscape they created in the episode. I love that. I love the touches. There's moments of them floating in the air and you see various fish or maybe dolphins. I can't really tell based on the design and close-ups, but I love that. A lot of great techniques of animation, artwork, and I guess you can say almost like film. They did a lot of really good tricks. This is just an A-class episode. I love the fucking shit out of it. Let me know what you think about it. And will we ever see 17's family in future episodes? Maybe. Probably. I mean, they did hint that, hey, he has a wife and 3 kids, so they have to show him off at some point. And, of course, Beerus got to eat food. Kudos for Beerus. Kudos. Kudos, sir. That'll be it, sir. That'll be it. Subscribe to my channel if you've not done so already. I hope you enjoyed this episode review. And this has been Jock12. I'm sick. It's Easter. Happy holidays.